Prescience is a double-edged sword. It offers clarity, a glimpse behind the veil, but at the cost of overconfidence. The moment you believe the future is fixed, you stop preparing for the impossible. The most devastating punch in boxing is the one you never see coming. That's the flaw in prescience. It isn't destiny, it's data, a probability matrix. It shows you the likeliest threads, not the anomalies hiding just outside the frame. In this chapter, this was an anomaly unfolding in real time. In Chapter 23 of Blue Vortex, the battlefield shifts from brute force to tactical improvisation. Boruto returns with purple lightning, not for raw power, but disruption. Elegant, chaotic, calculated. The true shock isn't the jutsu, it's the brother. Kawaki crashes back into the fight, fast, violent, and precise. He doesn't just enter the scene, he pierces it, and Jura. In Chapter 23, foresight meets its breaking point. I anticipated Jura's involution. I predicted Boruto's refusal to retreat. It's in his blood. I felt Kawaki's return was inevitable, but even I couldn't see how or when. Prescience gives you a map of the battlefield, but even the best maps can't predict an earthquake. The map is not the territory, and now, in real time, the terrain has shifted. Let's walk the path, step by step, as it truly unfolded. Chapter 23 delivers more than spectacle. It rewires the battlefield. Every major player moves with a new purpose. The tempo tightens. The tactics evolve. Roles have reversed, and nothing is where it once stood. Somewhere in the storm, instinct collides with chakra. In that collision, the singularity of fate glitches. This is no longer the battlefield we knew. Here's what happened. In any war, the smallest choices ripple. For this chapter, the ripple became a wave. The first tactical shift didn't come from the enemy, it came from Boruto's orders. Konohamaru, battered but composed, regrouped with Mitsuki, whom had taken down all remaining claw grimes with the Sage Mode for a more speedy result. He relayed Boruto's plan, preserve the Thorn Bulbs, and meet at the rendezvous point. Araya, unseen but not idle, had already gone ahead for recovery and carried the unconscious Yodo on his trek. This is now a mission of preservation. The battlefield had already begun to mutate. Boruto felt a flesh wound on his side from a previous attack, maybe something that carried over from Chapter 22. His vitals were missed, luckily. Jura realizes his attacks have a drawback of being telegraphed in its preparatory state. Jura fires his Biju bombs like a semi-auto pistol for more accuracy as a countermeasure to Boruto's instantaneous movement. Boruto launches a kunai, not just as a weapon, but as a marker for his flying thunder god. In a blur, he unsheaths his sword for the follow-up attack. However, Jura would read the rhythm and counters with a stop kick straight out of Jeet Kune Do's playbook, attack by drawing, in which intercepts the motion before it manifests. The blade slips from Boruto's grip, spinning into freefall. Sensing an opening, Jura lunges in to pierce through, but Boruto flips the tempo. In a flash of precision, he teleports directly to his falling sword using the Flying Thunder God. In one clean motion, the blade arcs upward, severing Jura's foot. For the first time, the divine Shinji reacts. A flicker of pain, a shift in expression. "Oh, impressive," Jura mutters, not in anger, but in acknowledgement. The moment had weight, a rare instance where instinct overcame inevitability. Jura strikes back with surgical precision, a flurry of piercing jabs like needles through contested space. Boruto deflects each strike with a calm precision of a seasoned fencer. Jura would wristlock Boruto's dominant sword hand. Our hero realizes that he's outmatched strength-wise. It doesn't end there, since Jura now has point-blank aim for his Biju shots. Then came the lightning. Purple lightning, reborn since Chapter 6, arced through the battlefield with surgical elegance. Jura flinched and let go as if it were a hot stove. Now the two are separated in midair. Jura grins and comments on Boruto's sluggishness. The Shinju feels that clobbering him down would be faster than shooting off Biju shots. Meanwhile, Konohamaru and Mitsuki, with a laid-out Sarada on his shoulders, arrive at the rendezvous point as instructed. Jura advances with ruthless intent, firing off a knee strike from the same leg Boruto previously severed. It's a pure Jeet Kune Do response, intercept the opening, and exploit the broken rhythm. Boruto, fatigued and off timing, fails to adapt. The knee connects clean. Before he can recover, Jura flows straight into a chained combination hit with no wasted motion, just directness and efficiency. Each blow hammers Boruto down to the ground. Jura follows up with an explosive tail beast blast. Boruto escapes the blast zone, launching himself into the air, but Jura is already there, anticipating the move. Their blades collide mid-air, but the impact sends a fracture through Boruto's sword, stunning him. Before he can recover, Jura pivots with his uninjured leg and delivers a crushing kick. The blow lands clean, sending Boruto crashing back to the ground in a cloud of dust. Elsewhere, Ida watches through her Senragon, eyes wide, stunned by the brutal beating Boruto has just endured. The silence hangs heavy. Desperate to break the tension, she pleads for Koji to say something, anything, and then an unexpected development shifts the atmosphere. That's when the singularity of fate had glitched. As Jura readies his final blow, Kawaki arrived, swift, surgical, and without warning, driving a chakra rod straight through Jura's head from behind, targeting the eye and brain with lethal precision. Kawaki mutters coldly, "This ain't enough to kill you? You really are a monster." Ida watches Kawaki through her Senragon. She demands answers from Koji. What the heck? Kashin Koji, equally taken aback, mutters new ominous visions for the first time in 6 days. He admits he never foresaw Kawaki's arrival, a blind spot in his prescience. Reflecting on it, Koji concedes that Boruto must have shared something with Kawaki in recent days, a subtle move hinted at in earlier Chapter 15. Elsewhere, Delta locates Konohamaru, Mitsuki, and Sarada up in the sky. Kawaki evades Jura's grasp with Sukuna Kona slipping through space in a blink, then counters with a barrage of chakra rods, launched like javelins, each strike landing with surgical precision and impaling Jura's torso. A Biju bomb blasts at Kawaki but misses due to Sukuna Kona ability at split-second reflex. Boruto laid still on the ground, and Kawaki lands next to him. The brothers exchange their signature trash talk. Karma activated. The karma markings light up Kawaki's arm. Let's go, you bastard. And now for my special on-boot tactical briefing. In tactical analysis, the limits of prescience. In Boruto Blue Vortex, Kashin Koji's prescience is portrayed as near omniscience tactical edge, the ability to map potential futures and choose the optimal path. But in Chapter 23, even Koji admits defeat. He didn't see Kawaki's return coming. The battlefield shifted in a direction no algorithm could model. And so to analyze this in a real-world parallel, there's something called predictive intelligence in warfare. Precedence, in tactical terms, is not unlike real-world predictive modeling used in military operations. Consider the Pentagon's Project Maven, which uses AI to process drone footage and predict enemy behavior. It's cutting edge, it's fast, but it's not infallible. These variables, such as human motion, unpredictable alliances, rogue actors, can throw off the entire model. And so to compare this with Koji's prescience, Koji's miscalculation mirrors how even top-tier military analysts failed to predict the rapid collapse of events of Kabul of 2021 and or the 2014 annexation of Crimea. Intelligence isn't useless, it's just limited. It thrives on patterns but struggles with emotional chaos or spontaneous strategy. And then furthermore, in psychology, there's something called false foresight. Psychologists call it the illusion of predictability. Just because a person sees patterns doesn't mean those patterns are stable. Someone by the name of Daniel Kahneman, who was an author of Thinking Fast and Slow, demonstrated on how even experts routinely overestimate their predictive power. And so overall, forecasting models from stock markets to weather systems suffer from the same flaw. They excel at the probable, but struggle with the possible. And so any kind of clairvoyance, whether it's like Koji's ability or in real world terms, any kind of ability or model, it's going to be data dependent based off of what has been shown in the past and what could be presently shown. And so it could really only determine probabilities, but it cannot take in consideration of possibilities, like outside the box thinking kind of possibilities. Koji's flaw wasn't in his power, it was in over-relying on a fixed model of the future. He failed to calculate for human agency, the X factor that Boruto and Kawaki represent. And then from a philosophical angle, prescience versus chaos. With prescience implies a deterministic universe, but Kawaki's return introduces chaos, the very force that breaks deterministic systems. This aligns with something called chaos theory, where minor variables like the butterfly effect can derail an entire system's output. And so the key takeaway, prescience gives you control, but it doesn't guarantee victory. It's a flashlight, not a map. Koji's failure proves a vital tactical truth. The battlefield is never just a prediction, it's an improvisation. And so, for Chapter 23, The Path Ahead, a few things we can foreshadow and maybe come up with our own future predictions, doing our own clairvoyance prescience here on the YouTube spectrum here. And so Kawaki and Boruto's teamwork could reintroduce the karma synchronization. Delta's arrival may bring in new intel. And I mean, there's a lot of open-ended possibilities with new intel, whether it's maybe knowing more later on in a future chapter of what might have been discussed between Kawaki and Amato. And of course, what I've noticed is that with two Blue Vortex, wherever Kawaki is, Delta is nearby. They're like a duo. They're almost like a odd couple there. Not romantic, of course, but they're just always paired up. And then, of course, we have Jura may be forced into another evolution or adaptation. If it's going to be a one-on-one fight with Kawaki and maybe Jura adapts and it becomes difficult for even Kawaki, or now you have to do a 2v1, where it's going to be reminiscent of Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki or versus Ishiki. So it's going to be a bit of a throwback moment that I'm feeling that will come on in the future chapters. And finally, Koji's prescience now has a critical narrative vulnerability. The terrain is no longer static. It mutates with each strike, each decision, each betrayal of expectation. Chapter 23 shattered the illusion that foresight is invincible. Kashin Koji, a shinobi forged from knowledge, failed to see what instinct alone could sense. the uncalculated variable, Kawaki, a singular force, ruthless, raw, and unbound by prediction. Jura, a creature built from perfect balance and world-rooted power, flinched. That alone redefined the battlefield's laws. It's no longer about who's stronger, but who can disrupt the cycle first. The Thorn Soul Bulbs are still at risk. Delta is back in play, and the stakes have shifted from survival to control. This chapter wasn't just a battle, it was an intel correction. Prescience has limits, and the future is under revision. Keep your chakras sharp, your instincts sharper, because the next engagement won't be decided by Jitsu alone, but by who breaks the pattern first. This concludes our intel briefing for Chapter 23. The Singularity of Fate has glitched, and Fate just lost its compass.